What's up, everybody? It is Izzy back with today's Q&A. Today was biceps and back, and started off with my favorite bicep movement, which is the single arm dumbbell preacher curl. One of the reasons why I like this movement so much is because of the fact that it is a dumbbell. You have freedom at the wrist, and so it just really removes a lot of the strain on my elbows from curls with any kind of an easy bar or any kind of a bar at all. And obviously, the preacher bench, especially with one hand, makes it really difficult to cheat because the weight isn't quite heavy enough compared to your body weight to like pull you forward, and you can use your offhand to brace. So it's just pretty much all bicep if you let it be.
I think I'm going to need you to sit down for this one because you're not going to believe what I'm about to say. But I'm not a real doctor. I know. Shocking. I'm a fake doctor. So, Dr. IzzyT recommends that you see a real doctor, or perhaps even better, a physical therapist with experience working with competitive lifters, so that they can actually examine you in person and help you diagnose what the problem is, rather than trying to do it over an internet question box with a 140 character limit. Amazing stuff.
The cambered Swiss bar bench press be good for hypertrophy. Is it worse than a regular cambered bar? I think those are relatively equal things. I mean, the thing about any sort of a Swiss bar is it's going to give you more grip options, and for some people, a neutral grip is easier on the joints, but the camber might be smaller than a traditional 4-inch cambered bar. So, I mean, I don't really think one is better than the other. They're simply different variations. I personally find that Swiss bars do relieve joint stress for me, so those are bars that I like to use when I get the chance. Are cardio and stretches on rest days good for performance? I think it's really going to depend on how hard you're pushing each one of those things. If you're doing really hard cardio or really hard stretching, that's probably actually going to set you back recovery-wise, and it might not be good for performance overall. Now, if you're so out of shape that you are recovering poorly from your sessions, recovering poorly in between sets, then getting some cardio done can be a good thing for sure. But it doesn't necessarily have to be on your rest days. Personally, I do my cardio and stretching on the same days that I work out. And on my rest days, I just completely rest. And I find that this actually gives me more of a recovery boost than trying to spread it out across different days and turning my rest days into like light workouts with, you know, like a 15-minute mobility workout or something like that. So I like to rest on rest days. When you went from lean to shredded, how much did your lifts drop off as a natural? A ton. But to be fair, I was dieting really fast. I was using Lyle McDonald's rapid fat loss program. And so I was losing like 2 or 3 pounds a week sometimes, keeping in mind that I was like 175 pounds, getting down to like 160 pounds. So that didn't end that well for me as far as like strength. You know, I went from repping in the 400s to repping in the 300s on squat, just for example. But when I was going from like anywhere from like 18 to 25% body fat to like 14, 15%. I never lost any strength doing that. Pretty much zero. The best sweet spot for me was like 18% for strength. But shredded, yeah, I lost a lot. What do you disagree the most with what Dr. Mike is saying in regards to training? I hate questions like this because like I'm not looking for an internet fight with anybody, and you're basically asking me to like critique a friend of mine's training philosophy. But I don't know if Dr. Mike would disagree with what I'm about to say either, but I don't think that failure training has a unilaterally worse stimulus to fatigue ratio than RIR training across all individuals and all movements. I think failure training suits some people's psychology well, and they get a better SRR from it. On exercises like squats and deadlifts, I don't think you should take those to absolute failure. But what about something like a seated machine lateral raise, where I see some people who do RIR training doing 20 to 25 sets a week of laterals? To me, you'd get a better SFR taking those to failure and even beyond failure and bringing those sets way down and making them more intense. Studies on plyometrics show hypertrophy similar to resistance training. Do you care, and would you do them? I don't care, and I would not do them. I wonder if any of the people who ask stuff like this have actually done plyometrics as an athlete for another sport. They are not easy. They're very fatiguing, like trying to do like a max depth drop or depth jumps, things like that. Those are very fatiguing. I don't think the stimulus to fatigue ratio there would be very good at all. And you have to remember, I'm like 240 pounds. That's a great way for me to pop any kilos or something. I just don't see the risk to reward ratio there. What parts of the back should a lifter focus on for a bigger appearance? Traps and lats. So, I mean, I don't think your scapular retractors like you know, rhomboids and things matter quite as much. But even in a t-shirt, everybody can see your traps. Traps are like one of the most visible muscle groups no matter what you're wearing. And lats is what give you the width. Like, lats help give you that waist to shoulder ratio. So lats and traps to me is what you want to focus on. So it's technically both upper back and lats in my opinion. Why are you turning out and placing the elbow inside of the shoulder when doing preacher curl? I'm turning because that allows me to brace with my off arm. And when I'm braced with my off arm, the dumbbell can't pull me forward onto my toes as easily. So it allows me to keep my center of gravity and keep all the tension on the bicep, rather than as I curl, start to have my body weight shift back, and then you sort of use body English to lift the weight. Now, some people do that on purpose, like for arm wrestling training, but it's not what I'm going for in bodybuilding training. Are there any benefits to training at higher volumes with higher RIR versus training to failure, or vice versa? So whichever will let you produce the fastest rate of progressive overload, to me, is going to be the best choice for that particular movement or that muscle group. So for example, you might do squats with RIR, but leg press is absolute failure, or leg extensions is absolute failure. But generally speaking, higher volume routines are likely to cause more swelling and inflammation, which can make your muscles appear bigger acutely, similar to being like full versus flat. And failure training is going to be great for people who don't have a lot of time. So if you don't have a lot of time, it certainly helps to do like 1/2 to 1/3 of the volume that you'd be doing with RIR training and getting a similar, if not better, hypertrophy effect depending on the individual. So those are probably the main pluses and minuses besides rate of progression. You mentioned competitive strength goals with regards to the standing easy curl a few weeks ago. Are you going to do a strict curl meet? No, not actual strength contests. Personally, one of my biggest sources of motivation in training is I like to compete with my friends in real life and on the internet, and other people that I respect. For example, on my other curling movement, the single arm dumbbell curl, Hunter Labrada has been able to do those with 60s, so 60-pound dumbbells, which off the top of my head, I don't know what that is in kilos, maybe like 27. And he did that for a set of 10. And, that's a guy with 21, 22-inch arms or whatever. So I figure, if I can get my strength level anywhere near that, then whatever my genetics allow for in terms of bicep size, I'll be pretty close to maxing that out. So that's a goal of mine, to chase down Hunter on the DV preacher curl. I find that pre-planned deloads are really only necessary when you're running higher volume programs that are already above sustainable levels of volume. So no matter how much you necessarily increase them from week to week, you're starting at a baseline level of volume that isn't sustainable, and you will eventually accumulate enough fatigue to need a deload by a very predictable number of weeks, 4, 5, 6, whatever the case may be. When you're running more programming that's towards the minimum effective volume side of things, and is even potentially sustainable, because that is actually a thing that you can do. You can run MEV and just make small progressions for really long periods of time without needing a deload. 3, 4, 5 months, I've personally seen it. It doesn't make as much sense to pre-plan a deload because you don't necessarily know when you're going to need one. So that's my take on that. Lower volume, higher intensity training, I wouldn't pre-plan deloads. With higher volume, it does make more sense. What's foolish about trying something, realizing that you don't like it, and then stopping? Isn't it really the opposite that's foolish? Like if you've never had milk before and someone goes, hey, here's a gallon of milk, take a sip out of this and see if you like it. And you're like, sip? No, I don't like it. But I better drink the whole gallon because you better finish what you start, or whatever the twisted logic is. Yeah, man, get out what you can. Well, for one, you can just ask people. Like you can literally just say like, hey, do you want some help working on finding ways that we can get you to be more consistent so you get better results, or are you kind of happy with the pace of things as they are? So that takes all the pressure off of you. And if they say yes, they've literally invited that feedback from you. Second is you probably just want to continue to develop your coaching business so that you don't feel so much pressure that it stops you from doing the right thing because you're worried about losing clients, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to get to the place, if possible, where providing the best service is more important to you than making the money. But sometimes making the money is more important because you're not at that place yet. So just keep in mind that one day you'll get there as long as you keep working hard and keep providing a good service. And at that time, you can have these conversations with less anxiety. My back off set is progressing while my top set stalls. I've tried anti-stall stuff. Should I ditch the movement or the rep range? Here's the thing. Have you tried the 1% rule? So this happens to a lot of people, right? Where they do the same weight on their top set as usual. They don't add any reps, but then on their back off to add reps. To me, that's still progress. But you would feel psychologically better about it if you added that 1%. So instead of doing 100 for 8, and then doing 100 for 8 the second time, if you got 101 for 8, you'd feel better about that being progress. So try the 1% rule. How to get more flexible so I can touch the bar to my chest on incline bench. First, let me just say, I don't think this is actually all that important. Some people's active range of motion will not be all the way to the chest. Some people will already have their pecs fully stretched before the bar actually touches their chest. However, if you want to try to get the bar to touch your chest, try narrowing or widening your grip. And the next biggest thing is going to be to touch lower on your chest, further away from your face. Thoughts on pentosan polysulfate. This is a drug, for those who don't know, that people have been using off-label to treat arthritic symptoms with quite a bit of success. Personally, I'll just be honest, I don't really like drug questions that much. I don't really even enjoy drugs that much. I don't think it's cool. I know a lot of people think drugs are just super, super cool and they want to research all about it. I personally hate using them. They make me feel like shit for the most part. So the last thing I'm doing is looking up new stuff to try. I don't want to be trying things. I'm not a science experiment. I personally solve my problems on an as-needed basis. I don't have arthritis or arthritic symptoms, so pentosan polysulfate is not something that I've looked up quite a bit. And you'll find that, in general, let's be honest, I don't keep up with the cutting-edge research on the newest drugs. All right, everybody, that is it for today's Q&A. If you liked the video, like the video. If you have any questions for me, just leave them in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, my friends, have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.